Known as Black Broadway, the U Street corridor in Washington, D.C. sparked a black cultural renaissance beginning in the late 19th century. It was a prime location for jazz icons including Cab Calloway, Pearl Bailey, Louis Armstrong, Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, Jelly Roll Morton, and of course, home to the legendary jazz hero Duke Ellington. Despite the tough Jim Crow laws of the day, the black community there continued to thrive. It was an era full of intellectual, cultural, and social abundance. U Street was Harlem before Harlem. Sadly, after desegregation and the tumultuous era of the 1960s, the community fell into economic decline, and Black Broadway and its legacy were slowly erased from history. In the midst of recent revitalization, U Street, unfortunately, still lacks the heavy jazz activity of yesteryear. However, jazz is not dead. As tradition, the genre continues to reinvent itself for a new generation with new ambassadors. Meet Elijah Jamal Balbed and the Jogo Project, creating a fresh fusion sound with jazz and go-go music, indigenous to DC and created by the legendary Chuck Brown, known as the godfather of go-go.
Well, we're called the Jogo Project for a reason. We started as a group of mostly jazz musicians trying to play go-go. So go-go is surrounded by the percussion. The drum beat is constant. They call it go-go because in between songs, the beat keeps going and going and going. Drums, percussion. The drums and percussion are also oftentimes playing against each other, counter rhythms and polyrhythms, but it creates this really just amazing combination of rhythms that people can't help but dance to. Chuck Brown always kept his horn section right next to him in the front line. And heavy vocals, usually several vocalists sometimes. One might be more of what they call a go-go talker. Usually go-go bands are at least 8, 9, sometimes 10 plus people. Go-go is really more than a music, it's a culture. And you can't just study it, you have to really experience it firsthand. And we do have a few musicians in the band that actually came up playing go-go, so it's like kind of a combination of musicians. It's also a combination of audience members, some people that are more used to jazz concerts, other people that are go-go fanatics. So we're just trying to bridge gaps with the Jogo Project, jazz and go-go. One time for Chuck Brown, 2 times for Lil Benny, backyard the junkyard, and now Deacon Izzy. Some bands are old, some bands are new, and everybody knows. Well, go-go is especially important in such a divisive time. It's a really unifying art, and I think that's important now, maybe more than ever. Art is important in society because it often informs the decisions that are made politically. Oftentimes when you see political movements, they're started either by artists or from lyrics in a song or from a message that a piece of art has put out there. And it's important that artists utilize their platform and their voice.
The Capitol Hill Jazz Foundation is a foundation that I started and I founded. And the vision of the foundation is to be able to financially assist DC jazz musicians, DC jazz venues, and DC jazz education programs. Upon the closing of Bohemian Caverns Jazz Club, Aaron and I gathered a bunch of musicians and we formed an activist group that we called the DC Jazz Lobby. We just acted as constituents, approaching our elected officials and organizing meetings to see what could be done about preserving the jazz community in DC. The primary mission of the foundation is to facilitate a jam session.
Thank y'all for coming out tonight to the Capitol Hill Jazz Jam. We've been here for about almost 3 years now. It's pretty successful. I'm really glad that we got it going on.
I founded the jam session in February of 2015. I was approached by Mr. Henry's restaurant. They were looking for live music, and the budget didn't allow for a regular gig. And so I figured the best way to bring musicians and awareness to this neighborhood was to create a jam session.
The beautiful thing about it is the feeling in the room is like family. It's like, I mean, this is my first time here, but I just felt so embraced. And it's clear that everybody there is having a wonderful time. So come to the Jazz Jam, you know, if you're up, if you're down, if you're in between, it'll really cool out your mood.
And there you have it. Elijah and Herb displayed just some of the unique ways today's musicians are keeping jazz alive and well. Despite real challenges, great efforts are being made to empower artists as well as the communities they serve. Jazz may have experienced some of its glory days here on U Street, but with steadfast artistry, advocacy, and audience engagement, its future will shine just as bright.